Breaking news. As chaos reigns, Russian mercenary forces capture Putin's lieutenant colonel. As the Wagner paramilitary group grew impatient with the infighting within the Russian army, the Ukrainian army timed its counter-offensive to increase the pressure on Putin. Wagner has released a hostage video in which a soldier claiming to be Lieutenant Colonel Roman Venevitin, commander of the 72nd Brigade, admits to shooting at a Wagner vehicle while intoxicated because of personal animosity. Venevitin, wearing battle fatigues and a bloodied nose, appears on camera and says he is guilty of leading a group of 10 to 12 Russian army soldiers who disarmed a Wagner rapid response group. The Wagner band of misfit mercenaries, who first came to prominence in Bakhmut, and the conscripted Russian army have a long history of animosity that this latest incident is only serving to deepen. Putin praised Wagner for breaking the stalemate at Bakhmut, but their success appears to have angered the Russian regulars, as Wagner has since complained that the path back from Bakhmut was littered with landmines. Wagner commander Yevgeny Prigozhin reported, "We discovered about a dozen places where various explosive devices were placed, ranging from hundreds of anti-tank mines to tons of charges from Zmy Goranich self-propelled missiles. Representatives from the Ministry of Defense planted these charges. Even though we do not march in columns, it is safe to assume that they intended to meet the advancing Wagner PMC, private military company, with these charges." Sappers are seen on video removing buried explosive devices from a road. Prigozhin blasted Russia's military leadership on Monday, saying that the country's troops had lost control of some of their positions near Bakhmut. He called it a disgrace, and another example of the Russian government abandoning its Wagner fighters in the field. Wagner is one of several private armies in Russia, with an estimated 60,000 strong. Chechen warlord Ramzan Kadyrov also commands a private military force, and Russian energy giant Gazprom has its own private military firm. In exchange for Russian prisoners of war captured in Belgorod this week, the leader of the pro-Ukrainian paramilitary group Legion Free Russia has offered Venevitin. On Friday, artillery shells and drone strikes pounded the Belgorod region, displacing thousands of Russians. The Russian use of the Iranian Shahed series of one-way attack uncrewed aerial vehicles, OA UAVs, against Ukraine in May 2023 was unprecedented, according to the Ministry of Defense. Russia is probably using so many OA UAVs to coerce Ukraine into using its advanced and valuable air defense missiles. Using a combination of older, cheaper air defense weapons and electronic jamming, Ukraine has neutralized at least 90% of the incoming OA UAVs, suggesting that Russia's efforts were not particularly successful. For his part, Tory MP Bob Seely warned that Britain underestimates the threat of nuclear use by Putin, saying that the conflict could escalate in a much more dangerous way, if not stopped. In the midst of Wagner infighting, calls for Putin's removal were broadcast on Russian state-backed TV for the first time last week. Boris Nadezhdin, who was given a rare platform on NTV's Mesto Vstrechi meeting place, urged the public to overthrow Putin's rule so that Russia could make peace with Europe.